It's in fact a work between integrable systems, which is the Leonard pairs, the part of the Leonard pairs here, and some more statistical models, which is the free fermions, and computing the entropies for this type of model. So this work is done with, I started to work on that with Luc Binet and Raffaele Nepomucci. That is for the 1D problem, and after we generalize this work on different type of graph, with Pierre-Antoine Bernard, PhD student, and Crystal Gour, which is a specialist of graph. So, my physical interest of this work is really to study free fermion models on 1D systems or on graph, and to compute the entanglement entropy. So I'm going to introduce all these notions, and I'm going to show you in this type of model, computing the entropy is the same thing to compute the spectrum of what we call the chopped correlation matrix C. So I'm going to just to show you all this stuff, but there is a numerical issue for that. C is a matrix, but it's very hard to diagonalize it numerically, because you have some problem. So I'm not a specialist of numerics, but people say it's very hard. And very recently, Hessler and Peschel show just by hand, by a very straightforward computation, but long computations, there exists an operator T, which commutes with the C, and this T is very easy, it's a three-diagonal matrix, and it's very easy to diagonalize it. So you diagonalize T, you obtain the eigenvectors of T, and you apply this eigenvector on C to obtain the eigenvalue of C, and you compute the entropy. So, and our goal, we come from algebra and some integrable systems, so we want to understand why this T exists for this type of model. And we are going to identify this T like an algebraic AND operator, so I'm going also to introduce all this stuff. And to identify this T, so we have a deeper understanding of that, and we are going to succeed to classify the model where this T exists. So my outline of the talk will be just, so I'm going to present the physics. So the two first part is really the physics, so it's very easy physics, it's free fermions model online and so on. And I'm going to present maybe less known things, which is a chopped correlation matrix, and how to compute the entropy with that. The third part is a mathematical part, so I'm going to introduce Leonard pairs and how I construct an operator with that. And the fourth, I make the link between both, so I'm going to show you how these operators give me these famous operators T, which commute with the C. I'm going to give the simplest example, which is the uniform chains, and I conclude with all the results we get and different remarks. So what I'm going to study is free fermions. So you have coefficients and annihilators operators, which anti-commutes as usual. It's on the line with n sides, and it's inhomogeneous. The coping constants between the different sides are inhomogeneous, and you have a magnetic field, Bn, which can be also inhomogeneous. So these Hamiltonians here, which act on the 2 up to n sides, either space. I can create the fermions or not in each side. Can be just written like that, with a straight H, which is a three-diagonal matrix like that.
So you're considering open boundaries?
Yes.
Is it just a choice, or is it essential?
It's essential because the operators is only constructed. The Leonard pairs is defined for open boundary condition. So for my constructions, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
So keep in mind this n plus 1 and plus 1 matrix, because it's all I play with. So I have two bases for this matrix. So you have what I call the position matrix, which is a natural basis, which is where the sides. So an H hat on this n is just given by my coping constant Jn and the magnetic field. And I can diagonalize, it's a matrices, a symmetric matrices, so you can diagonalize. And I have a momentum basis, which I call omega k. And so that just diagonalize it. And I just can expand this basis in terms of the position basis. And that is the phi m double k. Why I introduce that? Because it's really linked, like I'm going to show you, to some orthogonal polynomials. And I choose to just to organize my eigenvalue like that. So that is quite easy. So if I diagonalize the straight H, the curly H I am start with can be also diagonalized like that, as usual, when I introduce new fermionic operators using the eigenfunctions. So these new operators that still satisfies the fermionic space. And when it's written like that, it's very easy to get the eigenvalue and the eigenvectors of my purely H. It's just I add with my new creations fermionic operators on these vacuum states. So the vacuum state, if I act with the annihilations, is 0. And the energy eigenvalue is just given by the sum on the Ki I choose here for create my states. So that is very usual in free fermionic shapes. Here to define entropy and entanglement, I need a ground state. So I remind you, I organize my eigenvalue in increasing order. So I can choose the big K, like the WK is negative, the WK plus 1 is positive. So that's fixed K. And that is Kf is the Fermi C, is somewhere here. And my ground state is just I create the state from 0, 1 up to bk. And that gives you the ground state of the systems, the lowest energy of the system. So you can ask why it's not, maybe you can choose something, some eigenvalue is equal to 0, that doesn't work, but we choose a magnetic field such that it never happens. I can always not 0 field. It's just because after to compute the entropy it can be more complicated. So that is very introductive things about free fermion things. Now I can define a correlation matrix, which is just, I just introduce you the ground states. And now I just create on the left fermions at the site M and annihilate at the site N. So that it's quite complicated things that, because that is the old creations or annihilations operators, and this one is created by the new one. But after quite some manipulations, we can work this matrix just like that. When I sum over 0 up to k, which is my Fermi C, with the vector omega k, my eigenvectors of my matrix straight H. And so that in the base of momentum basis, it's a very simple matrix. It's just one diagonal matrix with 1, 1, 1, 1 up to k, and after some 0. So very easy things. So it means that C star just project on these states with k going to 0 to big K. To talk about entanglement entropy, I must choose a subsystem of my all systems. And that is the choice I do. It's like I split my system in two at the site small l. And that is very important. It's just I start to 0 up to L, and the second part is L plus 1 up to N. And to compute the entanglement entropy, I just need to compute, I need to compute the eigenvalue of this reduced density matrix. So that is my ground state, I tell you, and I just trace over the second part of my systems. And that is a matrix of this size. So it's quite big matrices. But Peschel and Vidal show you can have information about the eigenvalue of this row 1 just to compute the eigenvalue of what we call the Chope correlation matrices. So I recall you, I have my correlation matrices, but now I just take the sum matrices up to the side small l of my matrix C. So I don't show you all this trick, but it's quite well known. So the information here is just to say I want to find the eigenvalue of this object to compute the entanglement entropy of these subsystems of free fermions. So just to summarize, if I introduce a predictor pi 1 on the just written like here, so meaning in the position basis, it's just also some very easy matrices, which is 1, 1, 1, 1, and 0. And pi 2, which is all my correlation matrix. The Chope correlation matrix is just written like that. So pi 2 is my correlations, and pi 1 and pi 1 is just the chopping of, depending on the size of the systems. So that is very well known, and they want to compute the eigenvalue of these things. And people say it's very complicated to compute even the eigenvalue of that, and to have some asymptotics for when I want to make the size of the systems and the size of some system to infinite. It becomes very complicated to have some numerics for that. And the idea comes, so like I said in the introductions, I want to find an operator which commutes with T. And in fact, there is a very nice parallel of a problem solved by Landau, in fact, in the 50s, about when we want to make Fourier transforms when we chop in time and in frequency. So here you see I chop in positions and in momentum space. And Landau solved this type of problem also. It's quite complicated things to do numerically, but he found also an operator which commutes. And we borrow this type of idea to this problem here. So now that is the mathematical part. So I must define what is a Leonard pairs. So Leonard pairs, it's a very simple thing. So I have two operators when I call A and A star, which act on some vector space V, and I take this dimension of V finite. And I ask, there exists a basis B, a basis B of this vector space, such that A, my operator A, is diagonal, and A star is tridiagonal. So that, okay, is one thing. But I need also a new basis, another basis B star, such that A star, the other operators, A star, which one is diagonal, and A is tridiagonal. That is just definitions. But yeah, so we can ask why that is interesting. So that was introduced for combinatorics. When people study graph and so on, they study a lot this type of operators. And very nice things, these things have been classified. So I know all the operator A and F star, and the basis B and B star, such that we have these properties. Why I'm interested on that previously of this work is because these things satisfy an algebra, a very nice algebra, which is called Asker-Wilson algebra, which is directly linked also to polynomial and so on. And now, there is a trick, when we call the tridiagonalization trick. So I start from a Leonard pairs, and I introduce these operators here, depending on five parameters. And people show these operators is a more generic tridiagonal matrices in both bases, B and B star. So it's very easy to convince yourself this is tridiagonal in both bases. is more complicated to show, it's a more generic one. So let me call that, so it's three-diagonal string, and we call that an algebraic operators. So, next slide is just to explain you why un. So, if I choose A, which is a hypergeometric operators. So it's a functions, the second order function operators with three singularities. And A star, just X. And if I construct what I call the algebraic un operators with these two operators, I get the usual un operators. So it's just this slide is just to explain you why we use the terminology un for our case. So now our strategy is I take the coupling constant Jn of my magnetic field such that H is one of the elements of a Leonard pairs. So what I win here it's I have an operator X, which is the second element of my Leonard pairs. And I'm going to show you with the algebraic un operators commute with the Chop correlation matrix. I can choose the parameters such that this commutes. So just to recall you, so here I have my two bases. Previously in the Leonard pairs I have B and B star. Here I have my position basis, my momentum basis. So H hat was diagonal in the momentum basis, and tridiagonal is the position basis. By definition of Leonard pairs, my operator X is reverse. X in the momentum basis is tridiagonal, so I choose to introduce these parameters. And is diagonal in position basis. So I introduce a particular no algebraic un operators given here with parameter mu and nu. So now I choose, for example, to write that in position basis. So position basis. So I will call you position basis. I didn't forget me. Position basis. X is diagonal with eigenvalue lambda n. H is tridiagonal. So it's very easy. It's a very easy computation. You just put the things and it's done. And pi 1, which is one of the elements of the Chop correlation matrices, is written like that. And I want just to show T hat commutes with pi 1. So of course, commutations of two operators doesn't depend on the choice of basis. So I can just check, okay, I want that in position basis. And it's very easy now to show. I want these terms vanish for n is equal to small n. And if I do that, we have this property. So that fixes me the parameter nu, which is in the un operators. So if I choose nu like that, I have T hat commuting with pi 1 in position basis, so in all bases. And now, because we play with Leonard pairs, I have also a very easy actions of T hat on momentum basis. And that is the result. And now I use pi 2, which is very easy in momentum basis. And I prove T hat commutes with pi 2 very easily, also to asking that vanish for small k equal to big K. And we get the result we want. Because it's not written here, but C is just pi 1, pi 2, pi 1. So just to summarize, if I choose T like that with this type of parameter, so I will tell you Tn is written with that is my physical constant in my Hamiltonians. That is the eigenvalue of the second element of my Leonard pairs, and so on. That is the magnetic field, the eigenvalue, that is the eigenvalue of the H. This matrix commutes with the Chop correlation matrix. So it's not magical, it was not a surprise, it's just all these constructions saying that there exists a T which commutes with C if H is one part of the Leonard pairs. So, for the homogeneous chain, so if J naught Jn minus 1 just minus 1 half, no magnetic field, the eigenvalue is omega k, so given by that, and just, I don't want x, but it's one part of a Leonard pair, so there exists an x, and the matrix T just given by that, and that will recover the result of SLH, which is just computed by n. They know the C, they just ask something exists which is tridiagonal, they try to compute it, they have some recurrence relations, they found something, but yeah, it was quite magical. But it's just the generic construction which gives that. So, but what is nice here, because we have these natural constructions, we can construct now computing the entanglement entropy for all the chains where a Leonard pair exists. And Leonard pair is really linked to orthogonal polynomials. So I take the Haskell-Wilson scheme. For each polynomial of Haskell scheme, I can construct the T, a C, and compute the entanglement entropy. So what we did in these two papers with Raphael and Luc. And now, after, we realized we can also generalize that to graph, but not any graph, like not any cooking constants give me something which is tridiagonal. So, and that, I don't going to define all these things, but I need a graph which belongs to a P and Q association scheme. So it's also a very vast subject, but it's also classified. So we take graph belonging to these things, and now the Leonard pairs becomes a tridiagonal pairs. So that is a small generalizations, meaning you have degeneracy in the eigenvalues. And that is what we did with the postdoc, and now with the PhD students. And just because they are in a conference on integrable system, I need to say something, but quite recently now we realized the algebraic and operators belongs to some conserved quantities for integral models. So now even this T, solved numerically previously, can be also diagonalized by the huge methods of integrable systems like Bethe-Ansatz or other methods. So thank you for your attention.
Questions? But how does knowing T helps to find the entropy? And in particular, can you recover like log L?
So when I have the eigenvalue of C,
yeah.
If I remember correctly, you obtain the entropy entanglement Hamiltonian. No, sorry, the entanglement Hamiltonians from that, and you will just sum is you have a formula from this eigenvalue to the von Neumann entropy, for example. So it's really a simple formula from the eigenvalue of C,
yeah,
to the entropy.
Yeah, that's clear. Now you know T.
T commutes with C.
So they just have same
eigenvectors. So
okay.
I obtain the eigenvector for T.
I see.
And I act with the eigenvectors on C to get the eigenvalue of C, and after I compute the entropy. And in fact, even for the Hadamard graph here, with this one here, this paper, even the C was very complicated, and we succeed even analytically. In the sense, we really succeed in diagonalizing analytically T. We act with these new eigenvectors, we know exactly on the C, and we obtain exactly analytically the eigenvalue of C, which is not, it seems impossible before.
Maybe I skipped some point. You meant that H hat should be a member of a pair of. Yep. And what are the conditions? So you said there are some conditions, or for on the coefficients.
So yeah, I choose the coefficients such that there exists a X.
Okay.
For if you choose a three-diagonal matrices, any three-diagonal matrix, it doesn't belong to a Leonard.
Can you, so now let me ask the question differently. So can you write down conditional J and explicitly conditional J and B such that
yeah, because we know all the Leonard pairs. It's not, I don't have a formula, but I have a classification of all the Leonard pairs. So I can see you, okay, this type of coefficients works. So for example, Jn square root of n, big N minus n works.
My question is, are there finitely many for a given chain length, or are there infinitely many? So infinity many because some depend on parameters. Okay. So you have some freedom because you have some parameters. But after the classifications, if you know the orthogonal polynomials, it's almost all the orthogonal polynomials. So you start from Haskell-Wilson polynomials, and after you have all the other ones, you stop at Kravchuk, Hermite, and so on. All the orthogonal polynomials give you Leonards. So I don't know if Haskell-Wilson depend on four parameters. So yeah, so it's quite huge family.
You say that you cannot take any graph. Can you give some example of graphs you can work on?
Yeah, so it's my picture. So that is one example of graph. So that is an Hadamard graph. So that is really Crystal, which is a specialist of that. So that we take an Hadamard matrices. So it's some matrices with some 1 and -1 with some prescriptions. And you can associate a graph to that. And that is the first example of non-trivial graph you get. Okay? But after it's well studied, and the P and Q association scheme, it's just huge iterations. And you have also, you have some structure of that.
And from the picture, this is the splitting between the two.
Yeah, exactly. That is the else. That is my subsystems, I think. And I cannot also choose any subsystems.
As far as I remember, then the last steps, Peschler is always called the spectra of the reduced density matrix and the entanglement entropy numerically.
Yeah.
But can you also get something analytically? So
For this one, yes.
oh.
For Hadamard graph, we succeed. So Hadamard graph is not so interesting because the diameter is always 4. So it's always something like with a 5 line like that, but with more vertex on each line. So it's always the distance between one vertex to another one is always 4.
And for the 1D systems,
no, just that's what the trick. No, I hope we better on that. We can arrive in the way we better on that. Because we recognize the Van operators, so we know the T is something in some hierarchy of Godin model of XXC. And maybe we can obtain once again like this, but that is a work in progress.
So can you show another example where you can use this method, except this 1/2 and 0? You started to show that.
It's, for example, that is a Kravchuk polynomial, so it's linked directly to SU2. So, that.
And B is 0?
B is something linear in if I remember correctly. And another example of graph is the hypercube. You take an hypercube and you take a sub-hypercube, you can also succeed. It's also part of PQ scheme.
So you said that there is a link with the Betanzas for Godin model. What's the mapping?
So for this one, so that is, if I think you recognize representation of SU2. And so it's a link to the Godin model with generic boundary and with magnetic field. For one site, spin S. So the spin S is the size this N. You have only one site. The magnetic field for the Godin model is linked to the constant nu and nu. And normally it's that we work on that, but now we have exactly the map.
Question.
You define Leonard pairs on finite spaces. Would there be any specific complication to define them on infinite spaces?
So that is just to make pleasure to the people working on Leonard pairs, because Leonard pairs is defined on finite space. So I cannot say Leonard pairs on infinite space, because if I'm here, maybe it's not a problem, but at other place it will be. But no, it's not a problem to deal with infinite chain. So half infinite chain is not a problem at all. So it's more linked to the SU11 representation. Here is SU2, for example. If you take a representation of SU1, 1, which is an infinite one, it works out.